Americans sat down last night tuning into the first presidential debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump.
9 watch parties throughout New York State were hosted by the Working Families Party, one of them in downtown Binghamton. I was able to learn more about how those in attendance felt watching last night's debate.
This was my best debate. I thought it was very good.
This is very much two different visions for our country.
Community members came together Tuesday night at Atomic Tom's in downtown Binghamton. The reason? To watch the first presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. The event was sponsored by the Working Families Party. They've officially endorsed the Harris Walls ticket, but a common theme among many that we spoke with was that the debate was more of a war of words than the candidates outlining their plans for America.
We are seeing a little bit of conversation about policy, which is great, but I feel like it's the same thing. They're kind of like attacking each other about, Trump's court cases, and then Trump is attacking her about issues that he feel like wasn't addressed.
Donald Trump has no plan for you.
She doesn't have a plan.
During the debate, moderators from ABC News fact-checked Trump on claims related to abortion, the 2020 election, and migrants in Ohio. One attendee cited this behavior as making the debate unwatchable.
To tell you the truth, I'm actually literally on my way out because I can't stand to hear him talk.
Preliminary count from CNN found just one false claim from the vice president, though they say she made some claims that were misleading or lacking in context. Throughout last night, both candidates believe they offered different views and solutions for a wide variety of issues. For some, however, they'd like to see a debate that allows for more than just a Democrat and a Republican to share the stage.
I think that the debate should be open to more than the two-party duopoly. I believe that we should have candidates like Jill Stein and Claudia De La Cruz from the PSL involved in these debates so that we have a more variety of views and issues being brought up and discussed.
Following the debate, both parties stated on the record that they're open to a second meeting on the stage. However, details on when and what network a second debate would be held on have yet to be finalized. This morning.